crawler tracks can be found in any ocean. It's ubiquitous besides the land. If we closely study the surface of seafloor of Caribbean Sea by Google Earth, we find innumerable crawler tracks just as in other oceans. And we are obliged to admit that there once were very busy activities under Caribbean Sea too. Crawler tracks crisscross in many places, and careful observation shows us that comparatively fresh tracks often run over older faded ones. Of course, faded tracks have become less distinct because of perpetual sedimentation. This phenomenon serves as a kind of hourglass. Ever-thickening layers blanket the surface of seafloors, and it appears that some runovers have taken place more than once after some intervals. Even a professional diver would find it difficult to perform exact dating. But the degree of fading by sedimentation enables us to make rough dating. So we can roughly estimate that undersea activities of crawlers took place over multiple eras spanning hundreds of years. Under normal conditions, straight tracks suggest locomotion from A to B. But crawler tracks are stunningly straight for hundreds of kilometers. Generally, the sunlight doesn't reach most of seafloors, so crawlers had to travel without visual perspective. They are capable of traveling dead straight for hundreds of kilometers in the dark by non-visual orientation. You may think there's nothing special with straight tracks, but their straightness is far above the standard of human civilization considering the width and length of crawler tracks. Just think of crawler's width. The widths of crawler tracks are not constant but varies greatly. But the widths are mostly several kilometers and rarely exceeds 20 kilometers. Anyway, just imagine something as large as a city is locomoting dead straight crawling on the pitch-dark seafloor for hundreds of kilometers. Such a feat doesn't belong to human capabilities. We are not only incapable to replicate the same thing by our technology, but also unable to imagine how it's done. Nevertheless, their feat is beyond all doubts. There are tons of evidence of their size and activities. We can measure the width and the length of their tracks, the size of their formations, and even the depth of depression on the seafloor where they locomoted. Most crawler tracks are simple straight tracks, but there are also various formations. The most conspicuous characteristic is square waves. Instead of turning in gentle curves, crawler change its course with distinct angles, especially right angles. And needless to say, the resultant square waves are huge, measuring hundreds of kilometers in width and length, filling Caribbean Sea. The square waves consist of straight tracks, but here in Caribbean Sea they have a very peculiar irregularity which in turn epitomizes the navigator's versatility. Just think of Robinson Crusoe. We could say that crawler tracks are Friday's footprint. We have been like Robinson Crusoe on an island, and one day, we find the footprint on the beach. The book continues as follows. Quote, "It happened one day, about noon, going towards my boat. I was exceedingly surprised with the print of a man's naked foot on the shore, which was very plain to be seen in the sand. I stood like one thunderstruck, or as if I had seen an apparition. I listened, I looked round me, I could hear nothing, nor see anything. I went up to a rising ground, to look farther. I went up the shore, and down the shore, but it was all one. I could see no other impression but that one. I went to it again to see if there were any more, and to observe if it might not be my fancy. But there was no room for that, for there was exactly the very print of a foot, toes, heel, and every part of a foot. How it came thither I knew not, nor could in the least imagine. But after innumerable fluttering thoughts, like a man perfectly confused and out of myself, I came home to my fortification, not feeling, as we say, the ground I went on, but terrified to the last degree, looking behind me at every 2 or 3 steps, mistaking every bush and tree, and fancying every stump at a distance to be a man." Unquote. After all, we haven't been alone on this planet. At least we had companies. But how about now? Do we have some even now?